All right, thank you, Chris. Good to have everybody here. Excited to get back out on the road and go play in Kansas up in Lawrence. First chance to compete against this new staff and Coach Leipold, the rest of the staff, a group that obviously have watched them from afar for many years and have a ton of respect for the way that they go about their business and what they've done. So we'll be excited to get a first chance to compete against those guys. Week's going well so far. We gave our guys a little bit of downtime yesterday, did some meetings, didn't get on the field yesterday, with this being our 8th straight, which is not abnormal. So things that we've done normally during the season, especially in long stretches like that, to try to reduce a little bit of the time on the field. So make obviously the practices here, one we just had today and throughout the rest of the week, very important. So we've got a couple guys nicked up. Going to be a lot of kind of maybes, kind of wait and see right now throughout this week, and we'll see who all's available for the end of the week. Hope to have a few guys that got nicked up during the game, and then certainly hope to have potentially a few guys back that hadn't been able to play for us here for a while. So excited. The team's doing well. Guys are doing well. We're ready to go take this show back on the road.
Okay. We'll start with Jason Kersey.
Lincoln, your safeties are playing, it looks like, just about every snap out there. Are you comfortable with your secondary depth right now?
It's not, we've been hit hard there. I mean, we just have. The guys that have stepped in have done a good job, but I think there's been some definite silver lining. A guy like Key Lawrence, he's gotten so many more plays, and you could tell is really starting to get more comfortable. Played his best game for us up to this point the other night. Burrell's emergence has been really, really key there. Pat's been very steady for us like he typically is. So obviously, hope to get Delarin back at some point. Hope to get obviously Woody and a couple of these other key pieces back, which will be great. But we've had to make it work. We've had to develop depth. I think there's been a couple guys behind the scenes with that maybe haven't gotten a million reps in the games, but guys like Bryson Washington and Mukes and some of those guys that are definitely getting better. So there's always, when you have some guys out that you wish you had them, but at the same time there's somebody's going to step in and take those reps and get better. So we're seeing a little bit of both. I think they've held the fort down pretty good, especially considering those guys that are playing right now are also pretty involved on our special teams. And we'll obviously hope to supplement them as we go on, but they've done a pretty nice job with the inexperience and just all these reps being thrown on them.
Ryan Aber.
Yeah, Lincoln, throughout your career, how have you determined, or what's been your philosophy about when you bring in a backup quarterback late in games or in the second half, things like that? And with the quarterback situation, what it is right now with Caleb just getting a couple games under his belt, Spencer, does that dynamic change at all this year here moving forward?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of kind of different variables there. I think what you feel like you need. Obviously, the game being in control is the first thing, and then after that, I think it's who's the starter, what does he need? Who's the backup, what does he need? There's probably a lot that goes into it. Would it be different potentially now? Possibly, depending on the situation with the guy that's the starter right now that's a little more inexperienced, and a guy that currently is our number 2 that is very experienced. So could be different, but I think through the years you just got to look at the whole picture. There's always so much to it, but obviously love to try to get multiple guys a chance to play if you can at any point. We haven't had many points this year where we've been able to do that, but hopefully we'll have a few going forward.
Lincoln, going back to what Jaden Hazelwood said Friday about the block 60 times or whatever, why do you think that resonated so much? And is that like one of the first times he's really used his voice in that type of capacity?
I just think it resonated because, here you got a guy that, like a lot of our guys, had a lot of hype coming in and maybe more than most. And, he's had a career up to this point, up to this year that, He did a lot of good things his freshman year, but was kind of learning the ropes. And then obviously had the injury, all the disappointment, all that came with that, and it's been a long road back. And so, you know, hadn't been maybe the dream start that he would have envisioned, but a lot of times it's not, and you just got to stay the course. And you know, throughout all that, you know, you're finding a guy that's unselfish and about the team and just wants to compete and play. And I think also has a trust level that if he does that he keeps working hard and improving, that he'll continue to get more opportunities. And so that's what I tell our guys all the time. The funny thing is when you quit worried about individual stuff and you just worry about the team, it's funny how you accomplish some pretty good individual stuff. So he's a great example of that.
Gary Neiman.
Follow up on what Ryan asked Lincoln about the quarterback situation, and really follow up on what you just said about team over the individual. It is a unique position, right, with Spencer in that, given what he did for you last year, given what he's been through this year, I wonder if you have to be sensitive to him in terms of when you pick your spots. Run him. You like typically to run a backup quarterback in to get some playing time in a game that's in hand. Do you approach it differently because of how he might feel about being in a situation like that? If you can follow what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I follow. He wants to play, and he's preparing like he wants to play. And so if he gets an opportunity to play, then I'm going to play him. No matter what the capacity is, no matter what the game situation is, what the scenario is for him going in. I mean, that's, his mindset is I'm just getting ready for the next opportunity, and that's what it needs to be. You can't, in this game, you can't always define, when that opportunity is going to be. You can't predict it, but if you're just constantly getting ready for the next one, then when it does show up, you'll be ready. And so, for me, I wouldn't want to hold myself to anything, but if I get a chance to play him, he's preparing like he's going to play, and he keeps preparing like that, then if I get a chance to play him, I'm going to play him.
Gary Trammell.
Caleb's played really 3 games. He's hit a home run running the ball all 3 games. Is that something you knew? Did you know the extent of that run potential? And is that any surprise to you? And does that make you change anything you might be thinking about going forward?
Yeah, no, I knew he was obviously athletic on tape, and had some thickness, in his lower body that suggested he might be able to run the ball some. But, I never got to watch him play live. I got to see him practice. But unless you get to see these guys play live, it's tough to gauge, what they could do running the ball at this level against the other great athletes we play against. So, and you see bits and pieces in practice, but our guys aren't live; they're not getting hit. So I knew he was a good athlete, knew he was going to make some plays. It's been good to see him get loose a few times, and one of the things that's probably toughest to evaluate, but it's been a nice thing to see is his ability to make some people miss, run through some tackles, which adds another dimension to the things that he can do. So. Thought there was that potential, but it's obviously it's a lot different when you're able to see this thing live.
John Hoover.
Lincoln, the number of injuries that you got in the defensive backfield, I'm sure alarming. You see young guys back there playing, you see guys changing positions and trying to help out and do what they can. Given the performance that you saw Saturday night and last week against Texas, is there a need to do something schematically? Change pressures up front, send more blitzes, play less zone, play more zone, whatever it is. Not that you have to give away a game plan, but maybe what are your options there to help those guys out? Yeah, no,
I think for us, we go back and we evaluate the tape, and the questions then become when we have issues, when we have leaks, where are those coming from? And going back and watching this tape against TCU, we played better in the secondary than we played on the defensive front. We got out of position. Bowman got out of position once, in pretty decent position the rest of the night, had 1 or 2 busts. But honestly, we had a couple of times we were in position that we've just fundamentally got to be a little bit cleaner, make the play. And I reference, the play on Eaton, but you don't get in better position than that. It's just about finishing. So, no, I thought we were in position. I think as those guys settle in more, they're going to make more of those plays, and we expect them to. And then, like I said, the big thing for us is, defensively, we've got to play with all three units. We did that pretty well early. We haven't done that as well as of late consistently. We've certainly had our moments. But biggest issue the other night is, lack of impact by the defensive front and tackling. And those are issue 1 and 2, and any other issues are way, way down the line. Not to say that we're not looking at them and trying to correct, but we believe very, very much in our system, what we're doing, the way this thing looks when we're playing this system, the way that it's designed. And when we do it well, we play well. When we don't, when you play against other good people, you get exposed. So ours is going to be more towards doing what we know to do and doing it at a higher level, all three levels of the defense.
Coach Bryant.
Coach, the other day you emphasized that Caden's decisiveness is a key part of his early success. He's at 18 years old and a true freshman. How does somebody develop that level of decisiveness in this system so quickly?
Well, sometimes it's easier when you're younger because you don't know any better. That's all you know. So, he's got to continue to do that as he learns more and more and gets more experience. He's got to continue to do it because the challenge becomes as you get on down the line, and this is probably well down the line, but you get to a point you think you know it so well, that sometimes you try to do too much. And so he's keeping it simple right now, doing a good job of seeing it, and that needs to continue. So it's been good to see. You want to see it. I expected to see it, but at the same time, he's got to continue. There's going to be, we say it a lot in here, like every week's a new challenge, and that's great that he did it a few times against TCU. Like he needs to do it against Kansas. He needs to be focused on doing it this week in practice and doing it this game, and then so on and so forth. So that's got to be his focus.
Jenny Carlson.
Lincoln, Bill was in here last week and mentioned that Andrew Rain, his development has been a work in progress, as anyone would suspect. But it sounded like that position is such a mental and physical challenge both ways. How have you seen Andrew attack both? And do you think one is a bigger challenge? Bill seemed to think he just needed to eat a lot more, which maybe that's the case with all of the guys. But is it as much a physical thing, or maybe even more so for Andrew?
Yeah, it is. It's been his development. Has been like most guys. It's been challenging in a lot of ways. When he got in here, he needed to get a lot stronger. That was the biggest thing. He's always been very talented, very athletic, but his strength was the definite issue early on, and he's going to have to continue to improve that, drastically as he goes on. Whereas, the difference, Creed came in here so strong to begin with. There's just a big difference there. Andrews is athletic. He's got all the capabilities. He's had to grow up. That's been a big part of it. Just maturing and learning, how to prepare, how to work. He always wanted to play. There's a difference between wanting to play and doing everything possible to get yourself ready to play. And he's had to learn that. And I give him credit. We've had some. There's been some uncomfortable moments throughout the process, and that most of the time there is. But he's learned. He has started to grow up. He started to understand how to prepare. And I think being in some position battles and having to really fight for playing time has been good for him because he's had to really go after it. And so he's getting better. He played a good game for us the other night against TCU, against a challenging defense and a challenging front. So I think a positive sign, but he's gonna have to continue to do those things. If he does, he's got a chance to be a really good player.
James Hale.
Lincoln, you have guys like Swinson, Broyles, who play anywhere, seem to play pretty well. The general public doesn't always think they play well.
Yeah.
But, they always grade pretty well. I'm sure you have a few other guys like that too. Aren't they really, in some ways, the backbone of your team, that you can count on them to do anything?
Critical. Eric Swinson the other night's got to go in and play right tackle. He did not take one rep of right tackle last week. It's hard to do, man. It's hard to do, and it's hard to appreciate on the outside how much guys like that give to you. Where would we be in the secondary right now if we didn't have Justin Broyles? He's probably been our best secondary player this year. You know, it's guys like that have hung in there, that have had all kinds of different roles throughout their career, that crazy committed to this place, this program. No, they are. Those are two of the most valuable guys on our entire roster, bar none.
John Shin.
Yeah, Lincoln, you mentioned, yesterday was kind of a light day by design because of where the bye week falls this year. But when you get in the second half of the season, how much, when you're coming up with a practice plan, you've got to look at the health of your team before you decide kind of lead that for the week. How much does that weigh into it?
A ton. Yeah, a ton. I mean, the health and just kind of, again, you're going through a long stretch like this. I mean, it's the plan. A lot of people think the plan's just, what plays or what defenses or what special teams calls that you make during the game. And I mean, it's just doing everything you can to get a team as possibly ready to play as possible. And so we've tried to be aware of that. And there's always a fine line between the reps you need on the field, but also they need to be fresh and ready to go on Saturday. And especially this week with an early kick. Now we definitely talk about it. It's kind of all part of the bigger plan that we lay out at the beginning of the week, and stick to it, adjust if needed, and just trust our feel. And then the other thing we try to really do is we talk to our players about it. It's not like we hide it, anything like that. This is the plan. We may not do quite as much on the field on Monday, maybe more mental and walkthrough and meetings, all that. That means Tuesday through Friday got to be elite. And so it's up to us as coaches to come up with a good plan, and then the guys have got to take it and run with it. That's the only way they work.
Iron Patton.
Beginning of the season, I know you guys were concerned about tackling because you're not very physical in preseason. Well, now you're about 6 games in. How do you get better at this point? I mean, do you be more physical during the week? Can you get better? Is this who you are? Those tackling issues. How do you erase those?
No, I mean, because we've had stretches where we've tackled phenomenal this year. I mean, I don't see problems with capability. I mean, I think we didn't tackle very good in the first half against Texas. We tackled elite in the second half against Texas. We were not very good the other night. But tackling comes from a lot of things. It's not just simply getting a guy to the ground. It's being in position. It's guys being where they're supposed to be. When you run the calls correctly, when you don't bust stunts, when guys are in the right position, it's a lot easier to tackle. I mean, tackling can manifest itself so many different ways. Bad tackling can as well. And the other night, I mean, we had some things physically and fundamentally that we need to do better in tackling. Absolutely. But a lot of times we're just out of position and we're making the tackle way tougher than it needs to be because we're not running the defense the way it needs to be, or we're not getting the impact from the front that we need to have, or what have you. So I think, like I said, the general feels we'll tackle better, we'll just get him to the ground. Yeah, that's part of it, but it's just a part of it. It's not all of it. And so we need to do all of it better. We got to be better fundamentally, and we have no, our practices are pretty physical. We have no problem tackling in practice, especially early in the week. So we'll continue to gauge that and gauge where we think the errors are and certainly address it.
Yeah, Lincoln, going back to the secondary, last year interceptions were such a big part of the success defensively. When you look at those numbers this year, what do you see behind that? Is it just not finishing chances? Is it something different?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have had a few chances that we didn't make, but I think the biggest thing that I've seen is I think coverage-wise, we're not quite where we were at some points last year. Right now, we got a couple guys that are playing on Sundays that are pretty good players, that aren't here anymore, and then we got a couple guys sitting over on the sideline with us that are in sweats instead of football pads, that hadn't been with us here the last several weeks. It's a factor, and so these young guys are learning quick, and they're going to get better, and they're going to make a lot of plays here. I mean, we remember what Trey Brown looked like around here as a freshman. Pernell Motley. I mean, all the Norwood early in his deal. I mean, it just takes time, but there's several of these guys that are primed to take off in the second half. And then again, the other thing it comes from consistent pressure up front. It comes from linebackers being where they're supposed to be in coverage. I mean, again, it all kind of fits together. So it wouldn't be, can we play better and do we need to play better in the secondary? We do. is that also affected by the other two levels of the defense? Absolutely it is. So kind of like any question related to that, everybody needs to be a little bit better, because when we're playing good, we're playing good. When we're not playing good, we're just kind of agonizingly close. But, you know, we got to get past being close. Mm-hmm.
Barry?
Yeah, Lincoln, we had another coach lose his job in the middle of the season. Seems like it happens every week now. What do you think is causing that? Why are we having this? Always had coaching changes, but now it seems like earlier and earlier in the season it's happening.
Man, probably a lot to unpack there. I would say, the pressure to win, the visibility. I think the pressure at times that administrators feel when you know, people get riled up, social media, all that, I think is a factor. You know, I think some of these schools trying to get first in line in the hiring, so that they don't they feel like they can have a shot at the person that they want. And I think in some cases over the last few years, you've got some guys that, you know, in my opinion, maybe they didn't want to give them a chance to, you know, come back and win and save it. So unfortunately, but I just think it is what it is. So no, it's not. You hate it. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for players at those schools. Again, this whole it's kind of goes back to some of my arguments about like guys being able to, you know, leave during the season or just transfer in the middle of things. Like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like you should have to honor and you should have to finish seasons. Whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, coach shouldn't leave a team mid-season. You know, players shouldn't leave a team mid-season. It's a team, and you know, what do we say in there? So I get people got to have options in between seasons and all that, but I just now you hate it, you know, and so it's to some good people in the business, but that's one of the ugly parts of our business. And I would say this makes me appreciate the very stable leadership and kind of calm minds that we have here leading this place, because it's obviously not like that everywhere.
Jenny?
Lincoln, it seems like every week there's a great matchup of running backs in this league. Bijan's kind of out front as that name and face, but with what Kennedy's done, Jalen Warren, you go down the list.
Yeah.
It seems like, were these guys always here and we were just so focused on the quarterbacks we weren't paying attention, or has something changed with the running backs in this league?
No, I think it's a good crop. It almost feels like, we were talking the other day, it almost feels like, was it 3, maybe 4 years ago when everybody in the league had an elite receiver. You know, all those guys in the NFL now. A couple people had more than one, including us. And so, I think it's a really good year for backs in the league. You know, and you've got some teams that are committing to the run and running the football well. And you're right. It's been a good one every darn week. And it's, you know, that's still offensively to me the toughest position to defend when you get a great one of those. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, big challenge for everybody in the league. And I think you could kind of see across the board. Most people in this league are running the football pretty well. And so I think the league is continuing to adapt, and some of these guys are getting opportunities, and obviously some really good players that are making the most of it.
James?
You know, look at no sacks, you got almost a 200-yard rusher. Looks like the offensive line had a really good game, even though you had some injuries and things. Do you feel like it did?
We did. We played well there. Probably the best game that we've played, and like I said, did it with a few different lineups, you know, which was really good, especially Swinson, who came in and played fantastic. So, they're still challenging, you know, with what they do up front, like we said. So it was a good performance. So we're playing cleaner. We're playing more together up front right now, and so we got to keep building. There's going to be new challenges each week, but that group is getting better. You know, I think getting some confidence about them, becoming more consistent, and obviously it's something we've needed, but it's certainly led the way offensively.
Jesse Crittenden?
Hey, Lincoln. Obviously, Caleb and Kennedy have both been on the field a lot the last couple of games together, and they've both found some success running the ball. What is it about the two of them kind of together that's found some success over the last couple of games?
You know, There's probably some type of impact. I mean, obviously, Caleb being able to run the ball some has helped, but I mean, I still think it started with the O-line. I do. I mean, I think the O-line's given those guys some opportunities, and they've both been able to take advantage of them. So, and anytime you're able to run the ball effectively with different people, and then make some plays in the throwing game, obviously as well. I mean, it makes you tough to defend. I mean, it really does. So, Kennedy's really had 3 pretty strong games here in a row for us. Really kind of got going there against Kansas State, and then obviously he's played well these last 2, and that's been huge. I mean, that's been huge for our team. We know we're a different team when we're able to run the ball the way that we want, and that's obviously showed up here the last few weeks.
Andy Radosevich.
Understandably, because of the injuries, some young guys have been put in bad positions in the secondary. Overall, though, has it been a step back from what you guys kind of dug yourselves out of defensively as a whole?
I wouldn't say a step back. I mean, this is, we're just hitting mid-season here. We've played, gosh, this is a little different tone in here than it was in West Virginia when all you guys were wondering how we were going to score a point and thought, that's, it's just some of the ebbs and flows of it, I mean, I think I still look at it defensively. We still have had a lot of really good moments. We haven't, we didn't play good in the first half against Texas. We were hit and miss the other night against TCU. We're not far off though. Kind of like I told you, offensively, when we're good defensively, we're good. When we're off, it's probably a lot closer than maybe what people would believe. And I believe we've got the right guys in the room. There's not one group that's been horrible. We need every group to be just a little bit better, and if we do, that'll push us over the edge, and we'll play like we're capable of more consistently.
Plenty of ideas for the message boards if you want me to.
Yeah, I bet there is. I appreciate it. That sounds good.
Coach, there's plenty of things about playing quarterback that are very difficult, but from an outsider, to me it looks like one of the most difficult things is when you see guys in the pocket, seeing everything barreled down on them and not ejecting and looking downfield and making throws. And we're seeing Caleb, it seems kind of effortless for him with how few snaps he's played at this level. From your perspective, is that something that you just have as a quarterback, or can you learn it? And I guess why is he so comfortable right now looking down the field and staying in the pocket?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can learn it. I mean, some guys do it better than others, but I do think you can learn it. I mean, the biggest thing to me is, again, it all starts with having a pocket there to actually be able to step up in and stay in. I mean, that's the, I don't care if you got the greatest pocket presence in the history of mankind. If there's not a pocket, there's not a pocket. And here these last few weeks when Caleb's played, more often than not, there's been a pretty good pocket. And so, and he's done a good job trusting it, staying in it, seeing what we need to see. And I think he's got some confidence in his ability that if he does need to get out, that he can. And it's been, he's done a good job of the 2 games. The linemen they've done a great job of keeping it clean, and then I think both sets just trusting each other. So always kind of a team effort there. So it's been good on all accounts. But again, these different fronts, different things we're going to see going forward. We're going to get challenged different ways. So we got to be ready to do it again.
Okay. Looks like everything, Coach. Maybe you.
I got one. Did you watch Baker and Tyler?
I did, actually. I did.
What's that?
It's hard to watch, man. I mean, fun to watch and hard to watch. It's like the parent with 2 kids playing against each other. So, yeah, all good. Thanks.